You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Close for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Chiro Moguls, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Evers Coaching Systems, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, Bax Max, 5-Star Management, and the Goodman Factor. Let's hustle. Hey everybody, Jim Chester here with the Chiro Hustle live stream. This is an afternoon edition, almost creeping into the evening, whatever time zone that you're in. And I am coming to you guys from Grand Junction, which is in the Grand Valley on the western slope of Colorado. And I like to tell everybody I moved here to get away from everybody so I could hear the birds chirp. And Ethan, you are coming in from Clearwater, Florida.
That's right.
And this is Ethan Danberg with Chiro Business Academy, Chiropractic Business Academy. I was just in Denver doing an event with you guys, the Get Shit Done segment. And just before we dive into our conversation together, this episode is brought to you guys by New Patients in a Box and Chiro Hustle. If you guys click on the link above, you guys can schedule a 10-minute consultation with me and see if I can't help you out. And I know that's how business gets done. So if you guys are looking to do some business with me and let me be your trusted resource for chiropractic marketing and all things considered, please click the link above, or there's some cool chatbot links that we have up there that they can click on as well. But one of the topics I wanted to talk about today with you, Ethan, is Chiropractic Business Academy and what you guys are doing for the chiropractic space.
Well, at the end of the day, first off, I want to say, Jim, just having me on your episode, on your show again, it's always fun to bring two beards together and to talk chiropractic, man. Having you at our GSD session in Denver was truly a blessing for all of us. I can speak on behalf of myself and all the attendees. It was an experience not to be missed. So if your audience has a chance to rewatch the live stream, I highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun. Our goal, obviously, at the end of the day is to help create chiropractic entrepreneurs into successful business individuals that can be profitable in business, can scale their practice, and to also have the flexibility and freedom to do so without having to be chained to their practice. So at the end of the day, when it comes to building a chiropractic practice, it all comes down to serving the community you're serving through this miracle that we have, which is chiropractic. But you shouldn't also be burning yourself out in the process, right? And doing chiropractic for 40 plus years and killing yourself in the process of trying to serve your community is not the way I'm sure it was aimed to get done. So by teaching business principles and ways of building a team within your company with good marketing skill sets and strategies, as well as good conversion and executive leadership skills, it allows you to build a practice that can thrive and serve your community with or without you. And that's our goal at the end of the day for the industry, to scale its ability to serve by not being limited to just one chiropractor, but by thriving practices that can have a huge impact on the community.
You know, that's really cool that you guys have done that for the chiropractic profession.
Well, at the end of the day, I think it always, we've talked about this, man. It's like it pains me when you see a chiropractor who is giving and serving at such a high level, but they're not able to. They're filling up everybody else's tank, but they're not able to fill their own tank up, you know. And then you have an empty tank running, right, day in, day out, because, you know, as social entrepreneurs, right, it still means that we're entrepreneurs. That those that run a practice still have to run a business, and a business is, I'd love to say it was just 100% of serving your patient all the time, 50 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours a week. But there's other departments, there's other things that the business needs in order to succeed and to have you as a chiropractor to get your message and your gift out there. And unfortunately, I think that too many practices don't have those skill sets or those systems to do that, whether it's systems to building a really solid internal base and a culture for your team to grow, or systems to expand, whether managerially or operationally within a chiropractic office, or doing like what you do, having systems for really building multiple Legos and strategies to diversify all your new patients to drive in business, right? These are all based on systems. But these systems require a chiropractor to get out of just only treating the patient, but to also run a practice. And we're proud to say we've helped thousands of chiropractors over the last 20 years do just that. And you had a chance to see some of them, you know, those that are building a practice that can expand with or without their influence, but then it allows them to work on bigger things. So like, Dr. Gary Rademacher, who's one of our key ambassadors for Chiropractic Business Academy, he's been able to do a lot of stuff with the industry, but he's able to go and speak and travel and do things to help impact other people, but he's not having to always have to be in his practice 60 hours a week. He has competent adjusters. He's got a great staff, good management systems that allow that practice to grow. And because of that, he can do what he loves doing, which is to serve at a higher level.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I learned about what you guys are doing out there in at the Chiropractic Business Academy over the weekend was you guys are doing a lot to work on team building.
Yeah, big time. Well, at the end of the day, it is a team, right? I think I've been in over 100 offices in the last 6 years and implemented and trained on tools of team building, of organization, of how to create a high-performing team. And unfortunately, building a team does take effort. It doesn't just happen by itself. And I say unfortunately because I too often see people not putting in the effort, assuming that, well, if you hire somebody and you get them on board, you tell them what to do, they should work as a team together and this thing should move forward. But there's a lot of internal dynamics that we know of what it takes to create a solid team. You have to have high EQ. You have to know how to communicate with people. You have to know how to treat your staff like they're your patient because they are your customer. I mean, when you're an executive of a company, you have people that serve your patients, right? And your patients, right, quote unquote, are your staff. And I see so many incredible chiropractors giving everything they have to a patient and saving a life. But then I turn around and I see how they treat an employee, and it's a bit more to be desired in some cases, right? And so when it comes to building a team, it's building a culture, it's building an environment where people want to be there and they can get a part of a purpose. It's teaching people responsibility, accountability, roles, expectation, performance outcomes, how to work efficiently, how to problem solve and think outside the box while also following a system that allows the practice to grow. So, and also at the end of the day, you have to realize you're working with people. People like to have fun, man. Like, people love to have fun. I think at the end of the day, I think we forget that when we work with each other, we forget to have fun. And I freaking love gamifying work. I love making work a pleasure instead of a pain. And at the end of the day, when we put in these systems, it allows not only the doctor to create freedom, but it allows the employees, the ambassadors of chiropractic, to be able to build a career in chiropractic and not just a job. And that means everything to me. That's one of my prime passions.
Yeah, one of the things I really picked up on is you guys were interested in growing the business side of chiropractic, which I know you guys were doing a lot of training over the weekend with doing a proper report of findings. But there's a huge part of doing a proper report of findings that comes with if you don't have enough new patients, the report of findings doesn't really have any place to belong. So let's talk a little bit about why it's so important to create a system with building the business, not only from the perspective of how to get people to stay, pay, and to refer, but why it's so important to have a proper report of findings for offices to thrive.
Well, at the end of the day, any business has to succeed in generating new business and converting that new business to the solution it has for the potential customer, in our case, for the potential patient. And I think one part of it is there's no way of getting around the fact that those two parts, those two strategies have to exist for any practice to succeed. And our job is to have the passion behind those two activities, that while everybody watching this can create miracles on the table, we must be able to create miracles in branding and influence and in driving people to a new idea. Because I always say, I think we all know this is probably preaching to the choir, but at the end of the day, the competition, right? You want to call it big pharma, you want to call it drugs and surgery, as we were talking about this before the podcast. They are putting billions of dollars in those two departments to literally shape the way people think, to guide them into that line of treatment, which we all know where that leads to. And if we're not willing to even compete at a level necessary in the field of influence and brand and setting paradigms with society. If we're not willing to do that, then we're going to short sell ourselves and our ability to have an impact. And so, new patients and converting new patients onto the care that you want them to have, not just what the insurance company is telling you they can do, right? What you are recommending for them to get the results you need them to get. Those are two different departments or two different areas we got to confront and look at and raising our skill set with. And if you as a provider aren't skilled in that area, then we have to be willing to let go of it and bring somebody else into the practice that does have the capacity for that skill set to brand, to influence, and to drive new people in the door to have a paradigm shift and to move into the care that you want. And I think the fact that if you're not willing to do either of those two things, we're being willfully naive when I look at what it takes to have an impact in the society. So it's a very important part of the business, and not just putting all your eggs in one basket and then having somebody else take care of your new patient process. It's like, well, you need to learn. You got to get out there and get your hands dirty. You got to go and do what you're doing, man. Like it was so impressive. Like last year, I think it was, when you were up in Alaska, I was just following your story, man, on Facebook of like, today I got another 60 scheduled. Today I got another 48 scheduled. Doing an event day 3 up in here in Anchorage. Got another 42 scheduled. And I'm like, good Lord. Like if I could learn from that guy. But it's not just enough to get, it's not to just to go, okay, I'm going to just delegate it to something over here because I don't like it and just kind of go, ugh. And then just go like that. And then when the industry changes, right, when the eyeballs go from Facebook onto the next thing, right, because right now eyeballs are on Facebook ads. Let's say it goes to something else, right, and it shifts. Well, then what are you going to do? You're screwed. All of a sudden, the vendor you're using doesn't work anymore, and it's their fault, and then now you have no new patients again, and you go through the roller coaster of practice instead of, yes, utilize and outsource as you need to, but also like learn it yourself. Get out there, get your hands dirty, and learn how to brand, how to market, how to share the message, how to be a megaphone for chiropractic out in the community, and start setting the pace for the paradigm people need to have. Because if you don't, there's billions of dollars of somebody else that will. And that's what you're up against. That's why it's our responsibility to do that. I think that's why I think marketing and new patients and strategies around that, you can't just be okay with things that have always worked a certain way or to have somebody else do it and then just tune it out. It's part of running a business. And I think at the end of the day, if you're going to call yourself an entrepreneur or a chiropractor running their own practice, you got to learn how to do that, and you got to become proficient or bring somebody in that can be proficient to drive it forward while you work your magic and your strengths.
Well, before we go on to the next part of our conversation, anybody that's watching that's finding value from this, hashtag value in the comments. If you guys are watching this on replay, hashtag replay in the comments so we know that you watched it after. If you guys don't want to do either one of those, just tell us where you guys are watching in from so we know where our audience is watching from today. Appreciate you guys. Dave Major said the truth will set them free. And like we were discussing off camera, if these Facebook ads ever started failing, they would be at Dave Major's and my door, knocking on our door saying, hey, can you help grow our practice because the digital platforms aren't working like they used to. So I think that there is a huge level of integrity when it comes to going out to your community and building your brand locally. And it is a hands-on approach, man. And it is fun. And that's what I was talking to your group about how fun it can become when you do something to serve your community and it grows your business. And when you grow your business, you know what that means. Your bank account is smiling more.
Absolutely. Well, here's the thing too, like the way I look at it, Jim, is like chiropractic is in the business of serving people. This is not an e-commerce business. This is not a globalized, wholesale company that we're running, right? Where you're not serving people, you're moving products around and you're doing inventory on this and shipment on that and manufacturing for every. No, we're in the people business, man. And if you're not willing to get out there and meet people, no matter how long you've been doing it for, 20 days, 20 months, or 20 years, you got it. That's your business. We're in that business, So we need to be out there and doing that. And it's not. And then again, I think it's important not just to go out and not have a system or not apply. Success leaves clues. So not utilizing what someone successful like yourself have done. Like learn that system. Look at Jim Chester's facial expressions and his exact dialogue and what he does, and you just copy that and become successful at that, and then make it your own if you must. But at the end of the day, we're in the people business, man. We got to go out and have a grassroots campaign. And if you just look at the simplicity of if every chiropractor did one event a week, can you imagine how many events would be happening in this country and worldwide? I mean, let alone delegating it to have 3 people do 3 a week. I mean, you just think of just the sheer simplicity of that and the impact that would have, and it would be astronomical, man. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, one of the things you touched on there is going out there and doing grassroots events, and that's not new, but it has to happen still. Like we have to still play the same game that we've been playing for a long time, because if we don't, somebody else is going to start showing up to those events, and then they're going to start taking the place of what chiropractors should be doing, which is going out to their communities and harvesting people in, telling them that they can help them. And one of the reasons for that is most people don't know where to grow or who to trust for their healthcare needs. So they're falling into these traps of trusting the people selling them the other stuff. When when chiropractic is, like Dave said, the thing that will set people free. And I know that we have some more things we want to talk about. I know we went to dinner together on Friday night when I was down there in Denver. But one of the things I didn't prepare you for this, but what got you so passionate about helping chiropractors?
Well, at the end of the day, my story is pretty simple. But I was in a car wreck when I was 7 years old. I was in the back seat of the car, me and my brother going to school. My mom had us in a charter school, so she would drive us 20 minutes to school every day and pick us up after work and come take us home. But I don't know what it was, Jim. Like every day, when there's two, like my brother, I'm 6, my brother's like 11 at the time. When you're trying to get out the door to go to school, you're always running late. Like every day, we're running late. So my mom's, running late. We're getting in the car, half a shoe on, and throw me in the back seat with my brother, and we're racing to school to get me there on time. And we got my mom might have skimmed a yellowish, reddish light potentially on the way to school, and we got T-boned pretty nicely on the way to school. So I just remember the shock of that, both mentally and physically. Right, I didn't have any like external trauma, no cuts and no concussions or anything like that. But of course, the things that go along with a car accident occurred internally inside the body. And so a lot of misalignment, a lot of disruption inside the body that was occurring. And but I didn't feel bad. It was just a shock. And then it was 3 days later, I remember waking up with excruciating back pain in my lower back. And one thing that's, as an adult, it sucks enough to have pain, right? But when you're a child and you don't know what it means, or you don't understand it, it has a certain mental effect on you as well. So not only is it physically painful, but it's also mentally painful. And so thank God my parents knew Dr. Randy Russell. He lives out here in Florida now. And thank God to him for taking us in. He was a good friend of my parents. He took us in on a personal injury case. And my story began there, and it continued throughout the care under Dr. Russell. He could have sat there, did our visits, and then discharged us as soon as our case was done, right? That's could have been his prerogative, I suppose. But I just remember he educated us. And I remember him educating me and empowering me on what chiropractic did as a 6-year-old kid. I can't exactly remember, and I whenever I tell the story, I can never remember what he even said. But I do remember myself being in his waiting room, letting my feet dangle on the chair and just, looking around. There's no phones and no screens. All you can do is stare at the wall. But in his case, he had chiropractic posters all around his walls. And I remember just staring at the nerve function chart in his office like it was yesterday. It was big and frank, and I'm like just going, and there's so much things on there as a kid. It's just like this whole big, it's just this maze of it's so incredible, right? And I'm just going like, I remember the question I always asked was, how does he know what is wrong with my back without opening it up? And that was the one question I had as a kid. I had no idea why I had that question. I just remember it didn't make any sense that he would feel around and he would figure out what was going on with my back. Because I was getting better, and I would just finally let it go, Dr. Russell, I have a question. So how do you know what's wrong with my back if you don't open up my back and take a look at it? And he goes, oh. And he looked at me and he says, because I have these magic hands. Let these magic hands do the work for us, and you don't have to worry about it. He sat there and he'd palpate and adjust and do the work. And then later he would just start to sprinkle little bits of information about the nervous system and the spine and how the nervous system, when it's when they have subluxation, and he explained subluxation. Ethan, repeat after me. Train station subluxation. Okay, Dr. Russell, train station subluxation, right? And I would learn how to. He would teach me, right? And we became like under his care for many years. And chiropractic became part of my life. So when I had experience, and as I grew up and, obviously got into the business world and then moved on from a previous business I was a part of in a different industry that I was a part of back in Northern California, my wife actually worked for this company, and I was excited to get back into business. And then she goes, well, we help chiropractors. And I'm like, chiropractors, business, I'm in. Like, I want to take everything I've learned from the years I was in business and bring it to the industry. And that was about 8 years ago. And it's never been the same since. I told myself before I worked for this company, before I started working in chiropractic, I told myself I would never like have a job again. I was used to being in business and being an entrepreneur, but chiropractic and this kind of marriage of business and chiropractic like convinced me to go work for a company that was doing something about it, right? And helping the industry. So I've just been passionate about it ever since. And of course, in my previous line of work, you talk, the wholesalers and people that are moving products around, good people, but it's all about what? It's about money, man. It's just about money 24/7. There's no purpose in the product that you're selling. It's just money. It's just moving dollars, right? It's moving product and dollars. That's what it was. And I got into this business, I realized this was something very different, right? Like chiropractic is not just about moving dollars and moving patients. As we continue to enlighten the industry, I think that we can move away from those practices that have become that of just moving patients and moving dollars. But the vast majority of practice owners I meet, and I have met from day one and meet to this day, they never get into chiropractic because of the money. They never sit there and go to school and go, you know what, I was going to college and looking at what I was going to do in my career, and I had all these options, and I figured, chiropractic's the best career move financially. I want to move to that practice. I move to that industry over there. You never hear that story, like almost never. And you always hear a story of how someone was saved and healed through chiropractic, how somebody had their life changed because of one person's set of hands,
Just
making a
like
difference.
you. Just like you when you're
like
little.
With Dr. Russell, it was crazy, and I still see him. I've seen him to this day, and he's just such an incredible guy. And I always try to give props to him because he's the guy that started me right with chiropractic, and that was the butterfly effect he had on me. And it was pretty cool. And I just remember his ability to communicate chiropractic to a 6-year-old and let it have an impact. You got to be a pretty damn good chiropractor to do that, and he took the time to do that, and I think that's what changed my life.
Well, anybody that's out there right now and you're finding value from this conversation with Ethan and I today, please hit the share button, because the more people that see this message are going to be that much more educated on why you have to take gentle steps with people to educate them on what chiropractic is. And you never know who the next influencer is going to become. And I think that sometimes we discount the effect that we have on our relationships with people, and we don't realize that how a small acorn like yourself at 6 years old could grow into this giant oak tree as a man, and how you can start becoming the influencer, the educator, the developer, the teacher, the trainer, the systems man, the motivator man, the on time man. There's so much that happens over a course of a career even. And, so you've been working with CBA for how long now?
Close to 8 years now.
So
yeah,
let's talk, maybe a miracle story that you've seen where docs come to you guys and didn't have their act together financially or systems wise, and how you guys have really helped take them along and helped them with success principles and growing their business to being where they are today.
One of the cool examples, and I'm sure she'll allow me to share this, but Dr. Whitley out of Houston, she's such a dynamic woman, right? And her practice, Vital Family Chiropractic, has had an influence a lot on, obviously, chiropractic as it applies to small little newborns, pregnant moms, toddlers, and she currently, just to see her level of what she was able to do with us from the get-go, right? So she started our program at 0 patient visits, hadn't opened up her door yet. She came to one of our training facilities and trained on our modules and our courses for a week and a half. She spent 10 straight days with us, like 10 hours a day, super focused, dedicated. And she went from opening up her doors to seeing over 100 patient visits a week in under 6 weeks. And just seeing that, like, so she didn't come in a difficult position. She didn't come in like having failed in practice or anything, but she came in fresh and ready to go, like motivated to make a difference in the industry. And she had her niche and her purpose. She wanted to help newborns get the power of chiropractic from the very beginning, and to help moms go through the best possible, most comfortable process when delivering the miracle of life, right? And then raising the miracle of life from there. And to see how how motivated she was to hustle, right? We obviously, you have Chiro hustle, and that's the message you're getting across, where it's not just enough to do, what you need to do. You got to do what's necessary, right? And so she like hustled, man. Like, she didn't have the skill set to work efficiently in the beginning, right? She just had the hustle to put in the time and the dedication in marketing and branding herself and influencing people to start care, to creating good retention. And then now all of a sudden she's at 100 patient visits. She's got to hire some staff. Well, how do I onboard employees? How do I train them? What am I training on? What are their responsibilities? How do I write a job description? Like, do I even have I'm creating an organizing chart so at least I can structure out some kind of management in this place? How do I manage how well they're doing? How do I reward them? How do I gamify work? Like, all these things she had to like kind of figure out on with through us and our systems. But she didn't sit there and get paralysis by analysis. She just went, good, what's the next step? I'm going to do that. Apply it, put it in place. Make a mistake, do it again, implement it. Learn this thing, good, put it in place, implement it. And she's right at about the 200 mark now, a little less than a year later. She has a full staff in place. She has her first associate doctor who's on board with her. She actually had one of her close friends move from out of the state to come mentor under her and work for her practice. And the impact is, it's so cool to see that, right? And there didn't need to be a struggle coming out of school and opening up your doors. It wasn't needed, right? As long as you just follow the right footsteps and put your hustle into it, she was able to get that done. So that was one of our more recent success stories that I've been really just stoked about, right? In fact, her associate was in your talk and just had nothing but good things to say and was raving about your talk when you were in Denver last week. And this is a ton of fun. So she's like one of our more recent up and comers that's going to be doing some big things for the industry.
Amazing story. It's cool to see that people can learn and help and implement. And one of the things you said on there was to do it right. And that's why I think what we've been discussing off camera is, if you do it the way Ethan trains you 100 times, then maybe do it your way. If you do what I teach you 100 times, then maybe do it your way. But take it from people that know what they're talking about when it comes to chiropractic business growth and earning money and making a business out of your endeavor. And then after you do it our way 100 times, then maybe do it your way. But I think that we have to set people up for a standard that if you do it our way, you will be successful. And I think so many times people come out of school and they don't really understand what high-level success means. And they get stuck in some idea thinking that they're so qualified, but then they're not busy and their business fails.
Right. It's success leaves clues. As I mentioned earlier, you've said that before as well. And just follow those clues. And the main thing is, like, I'm watching the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference finals, right, and with the NBA playoffs, and I see these incredibly just unbelievable Hall of Fame athletes playing at the highest, most competitive level, doing things that are just beyond the realm of reality on the basketball court. These guys were able to be creative on their own in their own game only after hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of hours of following the script, putting your elbow in the right place, right? Hand here, elbow here, and shooting tens of thousands of free throws and putting in hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of hours of works on the basics, right? Steph Curry, to be as good as he is, had to learn from his dad for I don't know how many years, had to go to a basketball instructor for however many years and just repetitively learn the basics and just get like beaten into the basics, until he was able to then get the basics down so good, continuously practice them. Now he's able to create his own game and be creative. And then he knows how to facilitate that to the rest of his team as well. And you see wizardry on the court, right? But oftentimes people don't take the time to hone in on the basics. Going back to like new patients in a box, man, screenings, like basics, dude, screenings. If they don't work, then why is this dude traveling the country and different demographics, bringing in hundreds of new patients? Like, and I would get it. Maybe the argument would be valid if it's like, yeah, Jim Chester is in this one neighborhood and it always worked in that neighborhood, but I'm in a different city and those don't work anymore. The dude's going as north as Alaska, all around the country, big cities, little cities, and he's doing all right. In fact, it's still working better than a lot of other marketing activities are doing for most people. Screenings is one of the most time-tested and true systems for driving in new patients, right? And so, it's not just do screenings only. It's have all these avenues, but the screen, knowing how to do a screen, that's the basic. That is like a basic. The script you taught the guys, I'll tell this funny story while I was telling you and sharing with you. I had some guys in that talk recording you on camera, right? Trying to learn every single nuance of your body language, right? Every nuance of your script, and they're recording you. And I'm like, I'm glad they're recording you now, because you guys were telling me 2 years ago that screenings weren't working. All of a sudden, you're paying attention now, right? Because you're seeing a master at work at the basics. And what you were doing was not some secret sauce magic thing that you learned while meditating for 10 years on top of a mountain in Tibet. No, man, it's hard-won know-how of the basics. And then you refined it and tuned it into this perfect recipe. But it's the basics, though, and all they were learning were the basics again, and getting out there and tweaking one thing, tweaking something else, but getting back to basics, man. So I know I keep saying that, but it's what it comes down to.
Well, one of the things that it makes me really want to touch on is I went out and did 600 events in 2.5 years. And that's how I developed the confidence, the communication paradigm, the offer, the follow-up. Like, there's so much to do with it. It's not just showing up and like scheduling people and giving them a coupon. Like, right. There's so much that goes into like the brand awareness. There's so much that goes into positioning and preparation. There's so much that goes into how you carry yourself with body language, the simple conversations that you have to get people to say yes, the strategies involved to get them to tell you what their problems are so you can help them. I mean, there's a whole down the line stream system of knowing that when you show up and you do an event, you probably want to go back again. So you probably want to make good friends and make an impact with the event coordinator or the person that invited you to, or the person that you've sent the application to for your registration. There's probably somebody down the booth space from you that might be the number one influence that you'll ever make. They'll be your number one referral source that you'll ever schedule in. And maybe they're the person that sells soap. Maybe they're the person that sells honey. Maybe they're the person that sells salt. I don't know. But you're going to meet people that are, in the industries of communicating and high level sales and traffic and traction, that are going to be the people that are going to be around you. And I think so many times people don't understand that if they just showed up and talked to all those vendors, they would drum up business and they'd find more people to help.
Yeah, so, man, you're. I mean, what's the Drake said it right best. Your network is your net worth. It's the truth, man.
Here's Dave Major said screenings worked 2 months ago in Kenya, Africa, and Hong Kong. Last year, I signed up 2,500. They work.
Yes, preach it, man. Totally.
And we were talking about Dave at dinner a little bit, and right. Let's talk a little bit about that experience at dinner after the night that I talked to your group, and what we kind of learned from that and how we interacted after.
Yeah, we were hanging out with Dr. Jared Hill and Dr. Rob Pruitt. Dr. Jared's out of Brent's, Missouri, and Dr. Rob's out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and these have been guys that have had a major influence on me in the industry. I've been able to obviously help their practices, but to have their association has been like a blessing to me. And I was glad I was able to bring you into our tribe and extend, obviously your reach with them. It was a lot of fun. But we were at Loloma, which is a restaurant right across from we were at the Brown Palace. We're doing our convention. And it was a nice, good, fine cuisine. Those chips and guac, man, were first stuff we're to die for. I was like, I could have eaten dinner off those chips and guac. But we're having fun just obviously talking about, I mean, you were talking a lot, what you're doing first off. Like, not only are you driving the concept and the magic of chiropractic to society, to the community, but you're also mending relationships inside the industry too. And that was probably one of the more impressive things I think I heard from what you've been doing recently with different individuals and different influencers in the industry, right? Like bringing people together. And it was kind of cool. I was wearing a T-shirt that night from our Get Shit Done session from Innate Society, which I love their freaking merch, man. And it shows at the top, right up here, it's a symbol of the Atlas and a lightning bolt going through it. And on the back, it's just a bigger version of that. And then it says, where is that?
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Close for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Chiro Moguls, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Evers Coaching Systems, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, Bax Max, 5-Star Management, and the Goodman Factor. Let's hustle.
Yeah, there it is. That's the one. And it's right there. Then it has like a big magnified version on your back. It's just a massively huge atlas with a huge freaking lightning bolt. And then it says deliver lightning on the back. And I love that shirt, man. First off, it's a great message, but it fits perfectly. It feels good. So I'm definitely a big fan of Innate Society and what they're doing. But we're sitting there having a good time. We're chatting. We're just talking about just purpose and vision and where the industry is going. And they commented, right? I mean, you made a point of like, you were sharing your passion. I think that you're like, listen, I'm a journalist. I'm a chiropractic journalist of this message, right? And then after he said that, then Dr. Rob goes, man, you're literally more on fire than the majority of chiropractors out there, and you're not even a chiropractor, And you can see he was like starting to welt up with passion, right? And I'm like, that's freaking true, man. I mean, Jim's getting out there and doing it, but we're there having a great time, and then this lady taps on the shoulder, right? And I turn around, dinner table full of 6 people in a booth. And she goes, hey, what bone is that in the back of your shirt? And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's the Atlas. She goes, oh, yeah, what's that going through? I'm like, yeah, it's a lightning bolt going through the Atlas, She goes, oh, yeah, where's that? And I'm like, the Atlas, wait a minute, hold on a second. Kind of ask some more questions. Like, well, I'm going to have the chiropractor next to me. Went to Dr. Pruitt. He can kind of explain why we have a lightning bolt going through the Atlas. And he explains very briefly the nervous system and the brainstem, what's coming out of the Atlas and so forth. You align that, right? He goes into the whole 30-second spiel on that. And she's like, oh, yeah. Oh, so you guys are chiropractors. Cool, yeah, we're PAs, we're physician's assistants. I'm like, oh, cool. You're like, yeah, we're here for the national convention. And in my mind, I'm just going, you're a PA. You didn't know what that bone was? Come on. Of course, I'm not saying that. I'm just giving them big hugs and saying, hey, we're all in this together. Let's, keep fighting the good fight of good, holistic care. And if, always keep in mind what chiropractic can do for the patient. We're just kind of spreading the good message of chiropractic. But I walk outside and I go, Jim, like these people are medical professionals. Their vocation is to help, like they're here to, their job is supposed to be to heal the body with their modality, and it's not, and that's their level of knowledge, and it's not quite, I don't know, no wonder it doesn't work as effectively as they say it does, because the basic anatomy of the body that has all this power, they were, woefully unaware of, which was unfortunate, but at least we were there to tell them about it, which was good.
Yeah, and as we talk more about stuff, I want to ask you a couple more questions, but one of them is more so, I know we talked about how somebody could come in as like a miracle story and get training through CBA and become successful. Now let's talk about what it takes for you to, when somebody onboards and they have a victim mentality, and how hard it is to change their perception to success.
It's hard, man. It takes a lot. We get in our own way. Your talk to our group was a way to, hopefully through story, through metaphor, and through guidance, to like get out of your own way, right? So I think it's the philosophy of our company and probably the philosophy of everyone here, that anyone can change, right? People have the capacity within themselves to change their mindset, to change their destiny, to change their direction, to change their perception on their life, to change their sense of reality on where they're going or how business or life should be. That is within all of us. So if we can help people to make those slight shifts, right, those millimeter shifts left or right that add up to a 1 yard turnaround that can move the person to where they need to go to. But the poverty mentality or being a victim of one's circumstances or surroundings is probably one of the biggest things that could stop anybody from success in business. It's not the economy. It's not what insurance will or won't pay you. It's not the big pharma industry. It's not your competitors internally in the industry. It's none of that, right? It's yourself and your own viewpoint about how you can move yourself forward into helping people. And I think too many people operate out of fear, Jim, versus operating out of opportunity. And when you operate out of fear, you start seeing how everything won't work. You start playing cautiously. You start seeing all the problems that could happen. Versus when people start moving into a vision of opportunity or looking to see things in opportunity, they can see how things will work. They understand that things can go wrong. They understand that there can be mistakes. They understand that things won't work. But they also understand that it will work to the degree that I work. And if you can do your best for, if you are in this position to where 51% of your week or your day or your hour is negative or is limited mindset, at least turn it to 1% more positive. Have an hour where you're locked in on what you want. Have a morning routine at least. Just here's some practical steps. Let's say everything is going wrong in your life and your practice. You're stressed, working 60 hours a week. You're barely able to pay your bills. You have a staff that you have to pay payroll for. You're burnt out. You're injured, right? And you're not able to move into a position where you're able to serve yourself and actually be served too, and heal your own body. And you're just in this really bad spot. At least give yourself 1 hour every morning, just 1 hour every morning, where you meditate on your vision. Before you go into the practice, the world's turned off. Get up at 5 a.m. if you must, and just meditate a bit on your vision. What do you want to create? Put everything else aside, no distraction, no phone, just a hot cup of coffee or a glass of water or some tea, and hear the birds chirping outside while the sun comes up, and just give yourself that 30 minutes, right? And do your best to turn everything else off and look at where you're going. Like, I can't, and then if you're going to go back into the fires and being firefighter and the stress of what the day has to offer, at least you had that 1 hour. And that's one more hour you have every day. It leads up to 7 hours a week, and you do the math for a year and so on. And that is, small habits can change the way one looks at the world. And I think it's turning the television off one more time. It's turning off the drama in your life one more time. It's turning on an opportunity to see the world differently one more time. And listen, at the end of the day, man, if you're a chiropractor, you need to be getting adjusted at the same frequency you would recommend if you're patient in the same situation you're in. And it surprises me, it pains me to see how many chiropractors are not getting adjusted on a regular basis. Yet this is what they're here to do and here to serve. And they're in pain, mentally, physically, spiritually. Innate is not doing its job at the level it can. Yet they're not availing themselves of the one miracle they have in front of them. And that's the biggest that breaks my heart the most. But it's easy to change that. Right? It's easy to change making 1 extra hour in the morning, getting adjusted every single day, right? To align yourself to have the best impact, even if your life isn't going the way you want. So when it comes to business, man, you got to have the right mindset. You got to be in the right direction. And if you're just, if the individual in business is completely incapable of doing that, which I can understand, life can happen sometimes. The great news is not everybody on planet Earth is like that. So there are people to delegate your vision to, right? Sometimes you can step out of your own way and bring a powerful person in and delegate, right? And give it to somebody. Now raise their responsibility up and say, you know what? For whatever reason, I'm not able to perform in these areas of my practice. I want to bring you in and guide you, right, into somebody more than who you are right now, because we're a part of something that's much bigger than ourselves, and it's much bigger than me for sure. And they can move themselves out of the way to bring in somebody that has a skill set that they might lack in, right? Or have a mindset that that they're lacking in, and help that person grow within their practice and build a career within their vision. And I think, when you have an intrapreneur inside your organization acting as an entrepreneur internally as part of your team, and you can learn to let go of the reins and give them a system to grow and create and expand, the sky's the limit. So I think there's a few things we can always do every single day to build good habits of having the right mindset and moving away from a victim poverty mindset. But if someone in your audience, Jim, is just unfortunately, for whatever reason, incapable of that, the great news is there's plenty of people that have big, unlimited mindsets, that have a big vision, that can come on board with you and help you, as long as you're willing to release the reins and let them create and build with you. And that's a big part of what can allow them to succeed.
There's a lot there that you shared, but I think a lot of what you were sharing there was team building and contribution and discernment and integrity, and then challenging yourself to become a better version of yourself. I think a lot of times people become complacent. And here's something that I touched on that talk is I did tell all the doctors that they're 1% of the world population.
Yeah.
And that they have a certain level of integrity when it comes to becoming a doctor, and that they are there as caregivers and healers. And we need to make sure that they have the building blocks and the tools. Like we were talking off camera again, Steve Jobs said, you have the tools, now go use them. And chiropractors have amazing tools, and they have amazing systems. They have amazing philosophy. And there's no reason why anybody should really be struggling in the chiropractic game, because they are 1% of the world population. providing care and service to the population that they exist in. So they shouldn't be the best kept secret. They shouldn't be the most challenged financially in the doctor perspective. They shouldn't be the most challenged for success. They shouldn't have negative brand equity, low self-esteem. They shouldn't have any of this stuff because they are the real heroes. And that's why I really fell in love with chiropractic, because I realized that it was this lineage of healers, and they had something that nobody else possessed. And that was the ability to help people without drugs or surgery and help people restore themselves back to what is wholeness to them. And there's a lot of times when I see the practitioner, they go through their trajectory of a career and their self-esteem is shot. Their bank account is shot. Their ability to perform the task at hand is shot. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I know that my team member, Luke, put up here, text hustle to 55925 to get new patients in a box at a massive discount. And that's just it, is like, you have created systems to help people. We have created systems how to help people. Let's just talk a little bit more about social media. I know we have about 10 minutes left, but let's talk. One of our viewers came in from Spain, and he said, in translation, he said, "Dear masters, what is the best message to attract in Facebook?" So let's talk a little bit about like branding and culture and creating a message on Facebook that converts the chiropractic message to people that might not know, like lay people.
Well, at the end of the day, how to win friends and influence people, right? Dale Carnegie, one of the most important things he ever said was speak within the interest of others, right? That is one of the simplest ideas you can utilize in branding and marketing. So in first step, when you're communicating a message, especially when it comes down to on Facebook or anywhere for that matter, speak within the interest of that person. So what are we helping the person with? We have a short-term message and a long-term message. So how can we look at conveying what the most common things people need help with? And then when you make that connection, you meet them where they're at, right? On a 30-second Facebook message or in a conversation, in a consult, then how could we then from there guide them to further knowledge and empowerment, which is what we have to offer within the chiropractic adjustment. So I think, Jim, you're probably more qualified than I am to speak on this, but what I've seen work over the years and through my observation of marketing and dealing with it myself, you got to craft your message around the person you're talking to, not based on what's in your own head and what you think they need to hear. I think you can probably speak on that a bit more also.
Yeah, number one is know your avatar, know who you want to take care of, and craft your message knowing your audience. I think those are two really important things, is knowing who you want to attract as a practice member or a patient or a client. And then you have to know how to approach them with a conversation and tactics to influence them. Find out where your people that you want to schedule and eat. Find out where they congregate. Find out where they hang out and go there and do a talk for them and go there and do an event around them. So find out who your ideal target audience is and figure out how to convey a message to that group of people and to really speak to them and their needs. And then that's who you're going to attract for your business. And those are going to become your clients. And the other thing I'd say on top of that is build out a strategy, reverse engineer where you want to see your media presence in a year from now, and think about how many impressions you need to make throughout the week in order to convey your message consistently to your audience. Because Ethan, we have to think about Facebook as a daily stock market. A post will rise and fall really heavy within the first 5 hours. And if we don't post 5 times a day, then our post is rising and falling very consistently, and it's not going to there's no void going to be there. So if we stay consistent in how we wireframe out our strategy throughout the week, now we're going to have consistent touches and consistent impressions on that newsfeed to where we don't fall out of the newsfeed with our ideal message, which is whatever we want to convey. So building it out, doing a live, doing an infographic, doing a podcast, repurposing someone else's good content, branding things that are, an inspirational quote, interjection to poll your audience on what they think, get engagement, do an engagement post once a day. I mean, if people just did these simple things, Ethan, they would figure out that social media strategy isn't that hard. You just have to be consistent, and you have to strategize around your organic personality with a system.
Yeah, I think part of that is, like you said, consistency in your impressions. So a lot of your content will work, and a lot of it won't work. And sometimes it won't work more often than it will in the beginning while you're figuring it out, right? But it's your consistent use of it where you figure it out. And then B, I think at the end of the day, you're just trying to stay in front of your audience. So like with you, Jim, when I'm looking at my feed, I'm consuming Facebook or consuming Instagram, especially with Facebook, right? Because that's where you do where a lot of your audience is at. I mean, I see you on there 5 or 6 times a day with a message that's uniquely crafted to you. And I know it's Jim Chester's message because you use a very specific backdrop, right? And you're facing, yes, one simple question, one hashtag, whatever it might be, and then you spur a conversation. And that isn't your only way your impressions are built, but I'm always getting asked a question by you, like twice a day. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, it's not through Jim asking right now in person. It's through your post you made, and it's the consistency of when I see you. I was talking with this, obviously we were chatting when we were at dinner, right? Like most people, like if they had been working on like a live stream, right, on Facebook or on Instagram, say for 4 months, and they've been decently consistent with it. They're trying to put out good content, trying to really put a powerful message out there. They're working to brand it towards the right person. And do you have the guts to continue to do another live video after your last 17 lives had 1 viewer? Do you have the gall to do that, right? Do you have the kahunas to keep it going? And I remember it's so crazy. Like a year ago, maybe, I'm watching one of your lives and there's maybe 2 people watching. I'm the 3rd guy. And then if I'm in that shoe, I'm like, oh, this isn't working. I'm not going to stop. It's not worth doing this, whatever. And then all you got to do is just fast forward these 2 paths, right? One guy, at times me, I only have 2 people watching. Nobody cares. Or it's not of interest, whatever it might be. And I'm going to put my efforts into something else. That's one route. And then here I am as this person not getting the attention that they need. Then here's Jim Chester on the same route, going this way, going, okay, consistency and impressions. Then all of a sudden, a year later, he gets Grant Cardone on his podcast, and he spreads the message to that influencer, right? I mean, that had a huge impact. How many huge impacts for all the 1 or 2 live viewer videos you've done over the years, right? But it's the sheer consistency, and it's that one connection here and that one connection there. It reminds me of like the stand-up comedian who just, Steve Harvey goes up there and he drives for a $5 gig and just, does it and does it and does it and does it. And then the one person that he needs to hear is in the audience and says, hey, man, I want to get you on a comedy special in New York on this day for these nights, right? And that led to this and this led to that. And then all of a sudden he's everywhere. And Steve Harvey has always been everywhere. You always see Steve Harvey everywhere, right? But it came down to just the consistency. And I think we value our time as people sometimes, so you don't want to waste it and go, oh, the second time I did this thing, it didn't get any engagement, so it's not working. When it's the consistency of impressions that got you there. And it's your consistency of doing Facebook Lives, preaching the message, Facebook Lives, preaching the message, quality guests, quality conversations, moving forward. 1 viewer, 100 viewers, 1,000 viewers, didn't matter. Just keep moving it forward, and then boom, eventually huge influencer. Now you're responsible for connecting Grant Cardone to spreading the message of chiropractic when that's doing it. He has an audience of millions of people. So I think it's important that we all get our ego out of the way and allow ourselves to put a post up and to have nobody like it and nobody comment on it for 3 hours or for a day, and then have the audacity to keep putting your message in front of your audience over and over and over again, and to do so consistently and to a point where every person that's in your audience, all they do is see you every day. All they do is hear from you every day. You spur a thought process by asking a question or posting every single day. And it may not pay you dividends immediately, but when did anything great do that? Everything great takes time, man. And I'm continuously impressed with your consistency. I think that your actions are a message to the industry on how consistent your impressions have to be and how you have to get your message out there every single hour or every single day, multiple times, to have an impact.
And I think you saying that stuff. I find a lot of value in it because a lot of times when you're working so hard and like chiropractors say, we're in the trenches. Like when I'm in the trenches, my trenches is this digital platform. And I realize that the more that we're social on social, the more that we win. And
Yes, can I add to that, Jim, way fast? Because that's a
sure,
phrase you've taught me over the years I've known you, and that's the most important part. And I want to make this point actually, 'cause I think we all can learn from it. When you have to be social in life, you don't just sit there and talk at people expecting them to listen to you. You engage other people's interests. It's a two-way conversation. In fact, a lot of times if you're being social, you go out and find out what other people enjoy, and you find out what's part of their life and how their life is doing, and you're kind of serving them in conversation, right? Yet on social media, we just sit there and barrage. Sometimes we just sit there and put our content out and our communication out and complain about no one's being social with me or engaging with my posts, yet we're not going out of our way to be social with others on social, right? And so we don't make the proactive effort at times to engage with other people. And as Gary Vaynerchuk says, just to do it, be all because. Not because you have to or because you're trying to put a strategy in place, but just to engage with your audience, right? And then there's obviously strategies to do that on social media, but being social on social doesn't just mean to post your content and log off. Being social on social means Jim Chester talking to me in my direct messages, asking how I'm doing, right? It means Jim Chester goes into my Facebook lives or my Instagram lives and says, keep the hustle up, man. I'm proud of you. Like that means everything to me, man. When you do that, I'm like, all of a sudden I have, I'm following 700 people on Instagram. Who's in my top 5? Jim Chester, for sure. Who am I thinking about? Not because one reason is because you're always in my feed. The next reason is you're the 1 out of 1,000th person that made a point to be social on social, direct message me or make consistent engagement with me. And all I want to do now is just return the favor and engage with you and create the conversation, man. And I think that we know to do that in life, but we don't do it enough on social. And I think a lot of your traction you can build by being social on social, as you say.
well, it's very simple strategy, but you have to, like you said, nobody wants to waste their time. So I'd say maximize 20-minute blocks where you just roll down through the newsfeed and you just say like simple 2-sentence things to people. And then before you know it, they're going to do the same back for you. When you go live, those are the people that are going to hit the heart button for you. When you post something that they see as something awesome, it's going to come up in their news feed, and they're going to know that now we're building a bond here. And I think that that's one of the things that most people don't really understand with social media is it is a bond creator. And if there's an influencer out there that you want to get in touch with, they became so much closer to you because now you can start sending messages to them, their team. Everybody's more accessible now than they ever were. So when people just out of the blue say, hey, man, I want to be on your show, I say, cool. Let's talk about how we can strategize this to be a win-win for you and a win-win for me, and how we can marry our relationship together to drive both of us influence. And I think that that's really, on a macro level, if we're talking about a chiropractor in their community, I would tell them to start building their network of area influencers around them and start interviewing them and start building relationships in your communities and start sharing what makes that person unique and awesome and interesting. And then having a conversation like we're doing right now and talking about what is your like power and what is your soul genius and what is your ability to like be a nurturer, be a leader, whatever it is that makes you like special. When you have a platform like this, it's without a doubt that you're going to make impact with people. When you start paying attention to people, you become top of mind interest for them. Like you said, for me,
Right.
I'm in your newsfeed. I'm saying something to you. So who gets asked to speak at your event? I do. So it's these minor vibrational shifts that we make that are going to create your tribe and your influence. And then you start working together with people and you never know how far it's going to take your darn career.
I mean, this connection, right, has been huge for me. Just knowing you, right, and building this relationship has had impacts on how I not just my career but my life. But I think too, like you did it because of you just wanted to engage. I never felt like you were like, I get direct messages all the time, people I don't follow on Instagram, and it's just like, hi, listen to me, this is who I am, listen to me, go to my page, listen to me. And it's just, that's what their message is. All I see is, listen to me, this is who I am, listen to me, this is who I am, right? And I go, why should I care about that? Versus, hey man, what's going on, dude? How's life? How you doing? Hey man, deliver the lightning, #Innate, getting after it, hustle, Chiro hustle, whatever it is, you're engaging with me, and you're not doing it because you're trying to forward a business strategy. You're doing it because it's authentic, man, and it feels authentic, and it is, right? Mm-hmm. And so, anyways, I think it's one of the easier ways to build a following. And also, here's one thing I say too: like, you don't want to have a social following of 10,000 people that give you 1% of their time. I'd rather have a social following of 1,000 people that give me 10% of their time or 20% of their time, right? That's way more valuable, right? And so I think that's something we can kind of keep in mind, the quality of attention that we're gathering, and through good social engagement, that's what's going to get you there.
Well, I know we're coming up on the edge of our time together, but I just wanted to let you know that you've always kept it real. You always show up the right way, and you always help people. And that's one of the things that I've learned from you is you're willing to show up before everybody else. You're willing to leave after everybody else is tucked into bed. And you're willing to show up with high integrity. And you always keep it real and help people. So I just want to say a big thank you to you for doing what you do, because I know it's making an impact in other people's lives. And one of the things I really believe that we lack in the chiropractic space is good leadership. So, thank you for arriving and doing it the right way, because people depend on you. And I know there's a lot of people out there that, just like I say about chiropractic care, they just don't know where to go or who to trust. So they get lost and they get despondent and they go broke and they get poor self-esteem and they get nicked up and they become victims. So I know you help a lot of people unwind themselves from that type of reactionary state, and you help them find abundance again. So appreciate you for doing what you do and always showing up the right way and serving big and being present for people, because I think one of the things that matters to is the outcome. And I think a lot of times people, they just don't know what to do. So thanks for being you for them.
Man, Jim, that means everything, man. You're a leader to follow. So I'm just following your footsteps, brother.
Well, is there anything that we didn't discuss tonight that you'd like to share with our audience? Because I think we're into the evening edition of Chiro.
Yeah, I think we bled over a little bit. No, man, I'll just say I want to thank your audience for hanging out with us tonight, man. I love chatting with you. I love chatting with them, and hopefully tonight was something of value. If they want to find out more, they can always visit us at thebusinessacademy.com, thebusinessacademy.com, and hopefully we might can provide some value for you with the situation that you're in. Otherwise, man, I just love talking to you, brother. I just love having a good conversation, man.
Well, when we're done with this episode, put your contact information and the web address that they can go to if they would like to work with you. Just want to say a quick thank you, a roll call to some of the people that commented in and recognize everybody. Dave Major, thank you for commenting in. Love and appreciate you, brother. Leon, thank you for your question about social media. Mike Tokash with Imaging Services. He's one of our flagship sponsors. If you guys need x-ray stuff, reach out to Mike Tokash at imagingservices.com. And that gives us our roll today. If you guys made it this far and you found value in our conversation, please hashtag value. If you're watching this on replay, please hashtag replay into the comments there. And just do us a big favor and hit the share button, or just crush the heart button right now so you can send us off with some love. And I'm going to go ahead and close out. Is that okay, Ethan?
Hey, it works for me, man. It was a pleasure.
All right. You guys are just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you on the next one. Oh, yeah. Go over to New Patients in a Box and check us out.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.